Hi Spidey fans, it's your friendly neighbourhood Ultimate Spider-Man fan here, and welcome back to another video of me reading my epic Marvel Spider-Man PS4 related book, Hostile Takeover. So, just do my intro quickly and then get right into it. And there's a lot of pages in this. There must be about 6 or 7, maybe more. So, yeah, this is going to probably be a long one. So yeah, like, subscribe, comment, share, hit the bell notification, favourites, and then follow me on Twitter as well. Type in the L in all capitals, without spaces, the Ultimate Spider SPID. And yeah, let's get right into this. So now I do recognise this. I do recognise that screenshot. Wonder if that's one I did before. Sorry, yeah. Anyway, let's get right into this. So, chapter 21. Right. Right. Chapter 21. 21. Fisk. Sorry. I still can't get the words out. Fisk sat in his office while Fisk sat in his office while Beckham was shown in. The man had been demonstrated his power and his defence, but in the 2 weeks that followed. Sorry, what was it? I've lost the place already. Come on, Ultimate Spidey-Fan, wake up, will you? And his but in the 2 weeks that followed, he remains relatively quiet. Perhaps he had puked it from his system, or perhaps he had exhausted the limits of his imagination. There was a chance he thought that Benham might yet be brought to heel. The attack at the restaurant had been brutal and sloppy and wholly amateurish. Sorry if I said that wrong, Spy fans. The fact that anyone considered it remotely possible that the real Spider-Man had been involved was a testimony to the public's critically. Sorry, I can't say that word, and I can't say this word either. And the vehemence, I don't know, of certain voices within an easily manipulated media. These were the same forces, those with the desire to bring on experts who could debate opposing sides of any issue, that had enabled Fisk to rehabilitate his reputation. Was Benham clever enough to have anticipated this, or simply lucky enough to have wandered into a process that worked in his favour? It was difficult to know. There was no doubt that Fisk himself was responsible in part for Benham's success. After all, he had funded some of those voices who denounced Spider-Man. The most powerful of these was turning out to be J. Jonah Jameson, whose new radio show led the charge against the web spinner. The irony was that when he ran the bugle, Jameson had been no friend. There was no one he enjoyed bashing more than Spider-Man, but Fisk himself had been a close second. Now Jameson was playing right into Fisk's hands. This was how the game was played, and it was why he won. Sometimes force was required. Certainly sometimes there was no choice but to use threats and violence in order to terrify and manipulate. I don't know if I said that right. Manipulate. Yeah, manipulate. But he liked it best when he could bring bring people into line without them even suspecting they were serving him. If his new scheme succeeded, and it would, then the entire city would serve him and never even suspect. As for Benham, the man needed to be reined in, but it would be a mistake for Fisk to overplay his hand. The man didn't respond well to threats, and while he was not bright, he understood his own chaotic power. While the man was artless and very probably insane. He managed to get the job done. When Benham came into the office, he looked around as if he'd never been there before, been in there before. Sorry for repeating myself there, Spidey-Fans. Taking in the furnishing and decorations as if he was in a museum. He hadn't dressed to show any respect, however, wearing jeans, a black t-shirt, and a leather jacket. What do you want? Benham asked when he sat across the fist. I'm a busy man. The effort at the restaurant was clumsy but effective. Fisk began. You certainly attracted the target's attention, but it could have been done in a manner that didn't raise so many questions. I'd like to suggest some ways to help quiet those voices in the media who don't believe you are the real Spider-Man. But I am the real Spider-Man. Benham's eyes now. That's what I'm showing them. Point taken. Fisk forced a tight smile. Please allow me to clarify. Many people believe it wasn't the person they have traditionally believed to be Spider-Man. If they're that stupid, it's not my problem. Benham said, stretching out his legs. Guys like you're all into sorry, hang on. Guys like you're all into, what do they call it? Messaging. I don't care about messaging, about how to get the word across. I care about the message itself. You get the difference, right? Sometimes smart guys don't get anything. Sometimes smart guys don't get anything. You one of those guys, Fisk. Sorry, you one of those smart guys, Fisk. Fisk felt his smile grow heavy and brittle like ice about the scar. It would be useful if we could review what you plan next, he said evenly. Harrying the Shocker was hang on over here. I can say that better. Hang on. Innovative, but it came with certain risks. Benham took out her cell phone and began tapping and swiping from where Fisk was sitting. From where Fisk was sitting, it looked as if he was throwing through messages on his phone. Perhaps, Fisk continued, if you brief me on what you have planned next, I can offer some feedback to help you control the operation more effectively. Benham thumbed his way down the phone screen for a few minutes before looking up. Wilson, I'm not a flunky. He said, I'm a force of nature. You want an earthquake, and now the ground is rumbling. Too late to complain about the dust that's falling into your soap. You want to do something. You want to do something to make your life better once the earthquake starts. Take shelter. Maya couldn't believe what she was seeing. As she watched the meeting through her hidden cameras, Benham behaved dismissively and disrespectfully, and Mr. Fisk simply took it. She'd seen him hospitalise men for less, and while she was happy that Mr. Fisk had mastered his emotions, she wasn't sure she understood why he would do so now. She applauded a belt reluctantly. So I've said that wrong, Spidey-Fans. Benham's efforts to undermine the myth of the belly flint. Sorry, Spidey-Fans, excuse me. Benny Flint. So I've said that wrong too, Spider-Man. Though the deaths concerned her deeply, Mr. Fisk clearly felt something had to be done, but he seemed unable to put a collar on this lunatic. Before I continue here, Spidey-Fan, I just want to say a quick sorry. I'll just say it now while I've just hit a full stop there. So I feel like I'm actually stopping here. Just can't get the words out sometimes. I've said it to you before, but I don't know if you've heard me. Right. This artificial poster doesn't serve either of us, Mr. Fisk said. We share the same goal, destroying Spider-Man's reputation. If you allow me to guide you, we can achieve that goal much more efficiently. I can't say that word either. No. Efficiently. Are your ears too are your ears too fat to hear me? Bingham asked. I am Spider-Man. I'm showing New York what the real Spider-Man is all about. I've got plans, fat man, big plans that involve things you don't know about. You can just sit there and stuff your face and watch. Bingham took a photograph of out of his outfit pocket. It was folded, and when he opened it, holding it so Mr. Fisk couldn't see, it showed Spider-Man on a rooftop talking to a woman. May I had to strain to make out the detail and realise she had a badge clipped to her belt, so Spider-Man was working directly with a person or police inside the police department. Either he had lied to them, or corruption was rampant within the department. Either way, it was impressive that Bingham had discovered this key information. Perhaps he wasn't as useless as he appeared to be. He folded the paper and put it back in his jacket pocket. What do you mean, things I don't know about? Mr. Fisk asked, an edge to his voice. Bingham laughed. Oh, a little of this, a little of that, he taunted. Or maybe a lot. He looked around. I wouldn't mind an office like this. How come you get an office and I don't? I come in here and tell you what to do and you have to take it. How come I don't get an office? Maya gasped and felt her heart pounding. Bingham didn't say anything about the cop, and that was information Mr. Fisk needed to have. She couldn't tell him though, because then she'd have to admit she had been watching him. Why was Mr. Fisk letting Bingham treat him this way? Yes, the man had impressive abilities, but that shouldn't be enough. Mr. Fisk was deliberately restraining himself. She knew that look on his face, understood her mentor was playing a long game, but to what end? She started to wish she'd never set up these cameras, never gotten herself involved with Bingham. She was in too deep though, and she had no choice but to see it through. Bingham had agreed to the meeting because he liked the idea of Wilson Fisk sucking up to him. It was also possible that the fat man would have something important to say, but it was nothing like that. Fisk was just afraid. Everyone was afraid of him now, and that was how Bingham liked it. Things had been different when he was younger, but back then he hadn't known that he was Spider-Man. It was possible. He knew that he might have gone this whole life without realising he was Spider-Man. He might have lived all those years imagining he was someone else. He might never have been himself. I've got things to do. Bingham stood up. You're wasting my time. Fisk didn't move. He squirmed like Bingham had to struggle to think of something like an octopus in a little rock cave. He thought that's what Fisk was like, a slimy fish with tentacles. It was disgusting. Not until we arrive at an understanding, the fat man said. You must agree to let me know before you act again. Not how this works, Wilson. Bingham said. He loved calling Fisk by his first name and reminded the guy who had the power. If I can't count on you to cooperate, Fisk droned on, then I will have to reconsider our arrangements. Reconsider all you want, will I? Bingham said he pushed himself out of the chair with a theoretical little leap, just to remind the guy who had moves on who was a big lump, and walked out of the office door. At the last moment he turned back. Can't you hire any girls to sit at your desk, men secretary? That's what's wrong with the city. Everything is the opposite of what it ought to be. High school had been hard for Bingham. It shouldn't have been that way. His name was Bingham and he grew up in Binghamton. That meant it should have been his town. He'd always said it when he was little, and people told him how funny he was. They loved it, and he kept saying it in high school. Though people didn't love it anymore. Worse, they didn't respect him. Kids would mess with him in the halls. Whose town is it, Mikey? They'd say, shoving him or surrounding him. Big kids, bigger than him, thinner than him. This is my town, he'd answer. They'd laugh. Sometimes he lashed out, and usually he got beaten. But that wasn't what bothered him. It was the constant laughter. They put him in a special class with other kids, ones who had problems, kids who weren't smart or had something wrong with them. And even those kids were mean to him. Julie, Julie was deaf, and he thought. Sorry, hang on, wait that again. Julie was deaf, and he thought she'd be nice to him. She talked all the time like she had a cold, so all the kids made fun of her, but that didn't make her sense enough. Julie was the meanest of all to him. She called him fat, which wasn't nice. People couldn't help what they looked like. He'd never had a father, so Benham always kind of thought the city itself as his parent. It taught him things. Ben Hamilton had seen better days. It was falling apart, and had little to look forward to, but that made it no different than a lot of the fathers he saw around. Sometimes his mum invited men to stay with them, and each time Benham wondered if he would have a new father. Most of them didn't want to talk to a kid, though sometimes didn't want to talk to a kid. Most of them didn't want to talk to a kid, though. Sometimes they were sometimes they were mean to him and called him words Benham wouldn't repeat because they were bad. One of them had been nice, though. He was a big man called Rick, who laughed a lot and said who said he used to be a fighter. He decided to teach Benham to fight, and they would spend hours with their fists up, circling each other. A man has to be able to defend himself, Rick would say, but Benham couldn't imagine actually hitting someone, even though sometimes the other kids hit him. Sometimes they knocked him down. He hated the pain, but even more, he hated the feeling of powerlessness. Sorry for taking a breather. I lost my place there. He never wished that feeling on anyone else. Rick went away, though they all did, and then his mum stopped having men stay with them. She became tired and sad, and he preferred the memories of what she had been instead of who she became. He remembered her making him the special grilled cheese sandwiches he liked and taking him to the movies. He remembered her hugging him. He remembered asking how he knew if she really loved him, and she would say that true things didn't need to be explained. He liked remembering those days. Benham's mother became thin and her skin grew brittle. She worked long hours cleaning rooms at the motel, and when she wasn't working, she was out with friends. That's what she said. But Benham never met any of them, or she would just sleep the hours away in her room. She'd turn on the TV, get under the covers and sleep. The time of day didn't matter. Once he realised he couldn't remember the last time he'd seen her eat anything, she didn't make him sandwiches anymore. Then she got sick, and the doctor said they weren't going to help her. Maybe they said they couldn't help her, but it sounded the same to him. They didn't care. They didn't care about her and didn't care about him. Whatever actual words came out of their mouths, it all added up to the fact that she was going to die, and he was going to be on his own. Not exactly on his own, because he was too young for that. The city sent a mean woman with a lot of freckles. This woman walked like she was older than she looked, and she came to talk about what she called his choices. It sounded to him like he didn't have. Hang on, Spidey-Fan, I'm just going to see how many more pages there are here. I do. Ooh. I don't know. Where did I just leave off there? Okay, 2 more pages. I should be fine to finish them off. And when I saw it sounded to him like he didn't have relatives, so he'd have to live with some stranger or go to a group home. When people talked about choices, they were usually lying. There was only one choice, and you had to take it. That's when Benham discovered he had a power. They gave him one choice, but if he didn't take it, that meant rethinking everything, like walking away when kids were mean. You didn't have to stand there and listen. He told himself you could go somewhere else. I felt weird leaving Ben Hamilton. it was his place, but it was his place, but he told himself he'd be back someday, and things would be the way they were supposed to be. Maybe his mother wouldn't die. Maybe when he came back, she still was lying in the hospital bed, and he'd tell her she wasn't sick anymore, and she would stand up and walk right out of there. Maybe Rick would come back and show him some more about how to fight. It would be his town like it was supposed to be. He wanted to go to Cyprus. Maybe he knew there was a place called Cyprus in ancient Greece. Sorry, I think that's it, ancient Greece. And he liked the idea of one city being in two different places, two different times. He didn't know how that could work, and he wanted to see it for himself. The woman at the ticket counter spoke with a heavy accent, though, and she kept accusing him of mumbling, even though she was the one who was hard to understand. There were decisions he had to make, and they were so confusing, and they ended up just agreeing to something she said, so the conversation could be over. That's how he ended up buying a ticket to New York City. When he realised what he'd done, he'd been upset, he wanted to cry. Things like this shouldn't happen in the city, but they did. Whether he wanted them to or not. It seemed like bad things were all that happened anymore. So maybe going very far away was for the best. Maybe he could go where the ticket told him to go. So Ben Hall went to New York City. It was terrible, and also similar, familiar. New York was a place on the television and the movies he'd seen it so many times that going there almost felt like stepping into a memory. But people were busy and rude, and he couldn't find a place to live. He hadn't even thought about that. He'd imagined he would walk around, look for houses with signs in the windows advertising rooms for rent. That was something he'd seen in a movie once, but there weren't houses in New York City. New York, just buildings. And to rent an apartment, you need identification and references. You needed a job. You needed a job, and you needed more money than Bingham could imagine. A very impatient man in a real estate office explained it to him, and then demanded that he leave. And so he ended up sleeping in the subway until the police made him leave. Then on a bench, then on some flattened cardboard boxes, where someone stole his shoes. It was getting cold, and it was hard to go around with bare feet, so he stole someone else's shoes. That person hadn't been sleeping, but he looked like he owned a house that had more shoes in it. Benham West. I'll just read that first thing again. That person hadn't been sleeping, but he looked like he owned a house that had more shoes on it. Benham West, he hadn't resisted so much. He tried to remember everything Rick had taught him about keeping his hands up and using his feet and punching behind his target. When he had to do it, though, it wasn't like dancing. The way Rick had taught him, fighting turned out to be less about footwork and more about pounding fists and elbows and knees. It was about knocking people down and kicking their faces. Then you took the shoes. That's all you needed to know about fighting. He ran off with the shoes on hid in case the police came. They didn't. Once when Benham looked up, he saw a figure swinging from rooftop to rooftop. It had to be the person they called Spider-Man. It was dark, and Benham couldn't see his face, but he knew Spider-Man was looking at him and was scared of him. The idea came into his head all at once that they had switched places somehow. Benham was supposed to be the one swinging through the night, and that guy in the Spider-Man suit was supposed to be stuck on the cold ground. He didn't know how he knew it, but he didn't worry about it because true things didn't need to be explained. That winter was very cold. Maybe it wasn't as cold as the winters got in Hamilton, but back home he'd been able to spend more time indoors. He never had to sleep outside during the winter before. That made it seem colder. Knowing that Spider-Man was out there with his stolen life made things cooler too. He had to ask people for money and food. Sometimes he found a cat and put it on a leash, and that helped him get more money and food. People liked the cat, but the cat ran away, so that only got him through a couple of weeks. One day there was a pretty lady standing in front of him. Can you give me any money or food? Yes, I'm hungry, I don't have any money. I can take you to a place that's warm, she said. Smiling, there will be plenty to eat, and we can help you if you are willing to help us. Help you do what? We want to give you some medicine and see if it makes you feel better or worse. Beckham thought of that. He didn't think he could get any worse, and the idea of being warm or having plenty to eat sounded much better. Okay, he said, I'll do that. He went with the pretty lady, and he started taking the medicine. It made him worse at first, and then a whole lot better. That's when he met the man who changed his life. Yeah, so that's it. That's going to be it for Spidey-Fan. So yeah, once again, sorry for skipping whenever I was reading that. Sorry, just sometimes can't get the words out. And I will say that I got a comment recently for someone. I don't know what part of the book it was. Can't find the video, but someone commented me saying there's a weird noise. Right, my PS4 is too loud, and I stutter a lot. Sorry about that. I don't know why that is. It must be just the way it is. But yeah, Spidey-Fans, all done that. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. And yeah, I will see all you Spidey-Fans in all of my next epic Spidey videos. It's your friendly neighborhood Spider Cub. Over and out. Thwip thwip thwip.